All right, we've been exploring the different dimensions, the different elements of leading from within. Pause, feel, intend, and connect. Now let's explore the dimension of connection. Connection includes aspects like authentic speech, deep listening, appreciating others when they share good news with us. It all comes down to connection before content, connection before correction. Let's explore these. Now, what is skillful speech? What does it mean to speak in such a way that it touches the hearts of others? There are three gates of speech, and when your speech passes through all three gates, what emerges is naturally skillful speech. The first gate of skillful speech, is it true? When you come to this gate, you ask yourself, is it really true, what I'm going to say? If it's not true, you stop right there. Only if it's true, you enter that gate. Think about how many troubles we go through. Even when we tell a small lie, we have to then tell so many other lies to cover up that lie. I found that when I spoke the truth, I didn't have to have a good memory. I didn't have to remember what I said because it didn't matter. However, when I told a lie, I had to keep track of everything I said to which person and when, so I could replicate the same thing. In fact, this is how police people catch a liar. They make them repeat the same thing over and over again. That's how they catch the person. So the first gate of authentic speech is it true? The second gate, is it kind? Just because it's true doesn't make it skillful speech. Is it kind? And how do you know it's kind? Are you feeling kind? You may have something very important to tell somebody else, but are you coming from irritation, anger? If you're coming from that place, you can be sure they'll not receive it well. They'll probably get defensive. There's the powerful quote, I can't hear what you're saying because who you are is too loud. And that's an example of not feeling kind. So come from a place of kindness, check, and if you're not feeling kind, then pause and come back another time, at the right time, in the right place, bring up the subject. So the first gate, is it true? The second gate, is it kind? And now the third gate, is it even necessary? Not everything needs to be said. Not every lesson needs to be given. And just because you have the answers doesn't mean you have to solve everybody else's problems. People need to find their own answers sometimes. So only when you sense it's truly necessary, the other person is truly receptive and open to what you have to say, they really need it, that's the time you share it. When our speech passes through all three gates, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Automatically, it is skillful speech. It is known as speak to improve on the silence. It means your words are sweeter than silence. The Buddha once said that better than 1,000 words which lead to nothing are a few words that lead to peace. So let your words be precious. Let them be valuable. Let them go through these three gates. And of course, it's a journey. As you begin, you'll probably rush through those gates and say things sometimes. Then reflect and say, hey, which of those gates was I not mindful of? You'll realize that every time you do that, you don't get good results. And every time you're mindful in that way, you get wonderful results. People love to listen to what you have to say. They remember what you've said for a long time. Why? Because it touches their heart. The three gates of speech. Let's keep this in mind. Now, one of the best things that I've learned when it comes to connecting with others is simply to listen. Did you notice that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth? It's almost like life wanted us to listen twice as much as what we spoke. The word listen has the same letters as the word silent. So to listen is to be quiet and to give the gift of your attention to the other person. Very often, what many of us practice is known as pretend listening. We are nodding our head, we are looking into the person's eyes. We may even say, but our mind is somewhere totally else. Our mind is just wandering. So now let us shift from this kind of listening, shallow listening or pretend listening, to deep listening. One formula to remember that will help us. Pause, question, reflect. You can remember it as PQR. What does it mean to pause? So when someone is speaking to you and they finish speaking, don't jump right in and start offering your views. Notice how you feel when that happens. When you're speaking and the moment you take a pause, maybe to take a breath, the other person jumps in with their views. It makes you feel that the person wasn't really listening. They were planning what they wanted to say. So that's rather rude. So try this. The next time the person finishes speaking, just be quiet. It's all right. Nothing will happen with a few moments of silence. Pause. Maybe 5 seconds is good. And you might find they haven't finished. They actually want to say a little more. How wonderful. Let them complete what they're saying. Sometimes you might even encourage them. You might say, tell me more about that. Why is that important to you? Simple questions like that. So you're pausing and you're ensuring the person is complete. Because when they're feeling complete, they're in a much better position to listen to what you have to say. So first you pause. The next thing you do is you question, and we'll question 3 things. Is this what you're saying? Is this what you're feeling? Is this what you really want? And you've gone from the surface level of communication, speech, to deeper feelings, to deepest intentions. The reason we question is we give people a chance to clarify what they're saying. Sometimes we assume we've understood. We're so sure we've understood, but we haven't. Or even if truly you've understood, the other person needs to know that you've understood. And the way you do that is by checking. Is this what you're saying? Is this what you're feeling? And is this what you're wanting? Ask questions like that. Let people clarify. And once they've had a chance to clarify, now summarize it. This is known as reflect back. Like a mirror reflects back what it sees. So now reflect back. So what I heard you say is. So what I sense you are feeling is. And what you really want is. When you do this, people will be very amazed that you have understood them so well. Their hearts will open. They'll feel truly connected with you. They'll feel they trust and understand you. Now some of you may be wondering that this is so slow. How can I go through conversations like this? And yes, it can appear slow, but this is the speed of life. This is the speed of connection. And in the beginning, what appears slow, in the long run will give you rich benefits in terms of connection and trust and confidence we have in each other. So once in a while, not every conversation has to be such a deep listening conversation. For example, if I go to a shop to buy a book and a person shows me the book and I say, so what you're saying is you want to sell me the book, and what you're feeling is I might buy the book, and what you want is to make a profit. No, that's not the right place to do that. There's a time and a place. But there are certainly occasions, twice a day, thrice a day, with your family, with your colleagues, where it's appropriate to deeply listen. Don't miss those opportunities. They're very important places for us to build connection. Pause, question, and reflect. That's the art of deep listening. Let's start practicing it immediately. It's a lifelong journey. Now, how does deep listening relate to the 4 elements of leading from within? Remember, pause, feel, intend, and connect. Now, here's a way you can practice deep listening, which will also remind you of that model. So, assuming that you're speaking and I'm listening to you. So, as I'm with you, it's quite normal. My mind may wander. I may think of other things, or things you're saying may remind me of other things, or may bring up memories and ideas of my own. So, the way I center myself, as I'm with you, I'll say to myself, I see you. And I'll really see you. And after a while, I may say to myself, I hear you. And really hear what you're saying. I feel you. To feel you, I have to feel what I'm feeling. Because what I'm feeling is mirroring what you're feeling. We're all connected, you see. When you're feeling disturbed, a part of me feels a little disturbed. When you're feeling happy, a part of me feels a little happy. Scientists call this mirror neurons. I feel you. I love you. I love you means it's the intention of wishing well. It's like giving people an A. Love is not just romantic love. Love is about seeing the best in the other person. The highest intention is the intention of love. The word for love in Greek language is agape. Agape means to let be. So to love you means I can let you be the way you are, not try to change you into who I want you to be, which is known as judgment. So I love you. And now when you are here, you slip into a beautiful place called I am you. And this happens rarely, but it happens. I'm sure you've experienced this sometime in your life, talking to a close friend. The conversations go so deep that you almost feel that, wow, I'm one with this person. Like we are both fingers of the same hand. And that's when truly automatically what emerges is gratitude, thank you. So to remind you again, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I love you, I am you, thank you. Now to see and hear is to pause. To feel is the element of feeling. To love is the element of intention. And I am you, that is connection. Notice how these 4 elements of leading from within are perfectly reflecting all the elements of deep listening. So please keep this in mind, a very lovely way to practice deep listening. I'm sure you'll enjoy this beautiful journey of deep listening. There's a very powerful discovery that's been made in psychology recently. And I was quite amazed when I read this. They found that how we respond to good events that people share with us has a far bigger impact on our relationship with them than how we respond to bad news. Now that's fascinating. When people share good news, what's our typical response? So let's take an example. So assuming you have applied for a competition and you have been selected for that competition, and you come and tell your family member, guess what? I won the competition. How they respond then will really affect the relationship. For example, 4 kinds of responses. The first one is active and constructive. If my mother turns to me and said, that's wonderful. I know how hard you worked for that competition. You're looking so happy. What was it like? Tell me about it. How does it feel? What are your plans? What are you going to do now with the prize you won? Now she's interested in what I've said. She's questioning me, making me elaborate my experience. Authentic interest and genuine questioning, building on the experience of a person. This is known as active and constructive responding. This is the healthy way to respond when someone shares good news. Now there are 3 other ways that are not so healthy. Let's look at them. So I come home and I share my good news. Say, guess what? I won this important competition. And my mother, who's perhaps busy cooking food, she said, yes, good, nice. And she goes back to cooking food. Now this is known as a passive constructive response, because I came with such a lot of joy and enthusiasm, and my mother didn't show much joy and enthusiasm. She was rather distracted. She continued cooking. She didn't turn to me and really spend time understanding what happened. So then I feel almost like, oh, looks like it's not important to her. Looks like she doesn't care. That's a passive and constructive response. What's another way that we can respond? So I come home, guess what? I won this competition. And my mother says, that's all right, but do you know we're going out for dinner? Get ready quickly. She changed the topic. I came to tell her my good news. She didn't really respond to it. She immediately changed the topic. This is known as passive destructive responding. In this way, she totally shifted the topic to something else. Another response. So I come home and guess what? I won this competition. I'm so happy. And my mother says, why are you wasting your time on these competitions? I told you you should be studying for your exam. You're wasting your time on all of this. Don't do it again. This competition means nothing. All these people who apply for this competition, they become nothing in life. What she's just done is she's quashed my good news. I've come with a lot of enthusiasm to share what I'm enjoying, what I'm enthusiastic about, and she's immediately said, this is not good news, this is a waste of time. This is active and destructive responding. Now, become mindful of how do you respond when people come and share with you good events from their life. Are you passive and constructive? Most of us don't realize we're quite passive and constructive. We'll say, yes, good, and then we'll not really build up on what the person is saying. Our mind goes somewhere else. Psychologists call this the most destructive form of communicating. Because if you do that habitually, people feel you just don't care. You know, I had to learn this because for me, I've been trained as a monk, as you know. So there was a lot of emphasis on keeping a balanced mind, which means don't get too excited, don't get too sad. And I realized that that is very appropriate teaching for my own emotions. When I get excited, be calm. When I get sad, be calm. But when other people come and share good news, that's not a time to practice that. That's a time to rejoice in their happiness. This is known as, in the Indian tradition, mudita, which means finding joy in the other person's joy. And even if you don't consider it great news, it's great news for them, right? So we acknowledge their good news. Active and constructive. So passive and constructive is not too much of enthusiasm, not really rejoicing in the other's news. Passive and destructive is changing the topic to some other situation. For example, someone says, my son has done so well in school. You say, that's nothing, listen about my son. You totally change the topic. Listen about their son first. Another one is active destructive. When you tell the person that the good news they've shared is actually not such good news. So let's all begin the journey of practicing active and constructive responding, being authentically interested in our own way. We don't have to emulate anybody else. What's normal and natural for you? Find a natural way of showing interest and asking questions, getting people to elaborate their experience. It's not about you, it's about them. And when you do that, you really strengthen your relationships. We can practice this every day. Now, how do we connect with each other, not only one-to-one, but as groups? One opportunity we have almost every day is the meetings we have. How can we make our meetings conscious meetings? Again, remind yourself of the 4 elements that we've talked about: pause, feel, intend, and connect. When people come into a meeting room, don't immediately launch off into the content of the meeting. First pause, take a moment just to pause, be present, and just ask how people are doing. This is known as the check-in. Let everyone just briefly say how they're doing now, perhaps how they're feeling or what's going on with them. This allows people to be present. The question here is, what do you need to say to be fully here? And someone may say, I've been having a really busy day, but I'm here now. Or someone may say, I'm a little concerned about the other project I'm working on, but I'm here now. Or, I'm having a bit of a headache. However, I want to be present with all of you. And so, whatever you need to say, just say that in order to be complete and present. This is known as the check-in. Now together decide what is the intention for this meeting. And doesn't have to take long. The person who called the meeting can share their intention. And the others can also mention what is their intention for the meeting. This way it goes from being my meeting to our meeting. And everyone's interested. So give people an opportunity to ask them what is the BPO, the best possible outcome for this meeting. This enables us all to be involved and know why we are meeting. While you're having a meeting, once in a while, it's appropriate to pause. It's very helpful for us to get comfortable with some silence. Someone's made a really great contribution, a really good thought, a really good idea. That's a good time to pause. For example, you could say, let's just reflect on what he said. Or that's a good question, let's think about that one. And just give people a chance to be quiet for a bit. You'll find this immeasurably deepens the quality of that meeting. If people are only talking the whole time, then no one's really listening. We need time to absorb powerful ideas. So pausing during meetings is a very skillful way to deepen our meetings. And towards the end of the meeting, it's appropriate to summarize, to make commitments, to be very clear, what are we committed to? Are we all on the same page? And end with appreciation. Someone may have said something very nice, or they may have reported some wonderful development. We need to appreciate and acknowledge what went well in the meeting. This way we are starting, filling, and ending the meeting in a very conscious and high quality way. If you have meetings in this way, I'm sure you'll enjoy them a lot more. There are 2 ways to listen. One is to listen as a person, and the other is to listen as a presence. What does it mean? To listen as a person is to listen from your point of view, which means I have certain life experiences, certain things I believe in, certain things I don't believe in, certain things I like and dislike. When you speak, a part of me starts comparing what you're saying to what I already believe in. If it matches, I like what you say. If it doesn't match, I get resistant to what you're saying. Either way, I'm not listening. Even if I like what you're saying, I'm not listening because a part of me says, I know that, and I've got a better story. And if I don't like it, of course, I have all the arguments why you're wrong. So this is known as listening as a person. But what does it mean to listen as a presence? When I listen as pure awareness. Like the space in this room where I'm speaking, neither agrees with me nor disagrees with me. it just receives everything that's coming. I can talk to you right now about how to be a happier person. I can even talk to you about let's go and rob a bank. I can talk about anything. But the space neither agrees or disagrees with me. It just welcomes what's happening. To listen as a presence is to step out of views and opinions and just notice what the person is saying. And then notice what resonates and what doesn't resonate. What resonates will stay with you. What doesn't resonate, you can clarify. Help me understand. That didn't quite resonate. Say it again. Explain it to me. And as the person says it again check, does it resonate or not? If it resonates, now it makes sense. If it doesn't, no problem. We don't have to agree on everything. We can agree to disagree. It is the quality of a healthy and mature mind to be comfortable with different points of view. That's known as wisdom. Wisdom sees the same thing from many, many, many perspectives. You know, knowledge is a point of view or a few points of view. But wisdom is viewing points, many, many viewing points, seeing the same thing from many different perspectives. That's known as wisdom. So to be wise and to be a wise leader, you will have to listen to many different perspectives, not just your favorite ones. One thing that I learned, and this in my own relationship with my wife, whenever she says something I don't quite agree with, I've learned to say, maybe you're right. And she says, I am right. Then I say, maybe it's true. She says, it is true. And it's become a game for us. We start laughing. And what a fun way of converting our disagreements into laughter. Because ask yourself, do you really want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? You don't have to be right all the time to be happy. Not everything has to be fought about or debated. So holding things lightly in this way, we get everyone, we are more interested in people as opposed to eager to convert them to our point of view. And this is a wonderful way to connect with others, to be a good listener, and to be a learner in every situation. Connection before correction. Let's keep that in mind.